no gun. Yvette dropped it here. Very well. I know who did it.
You do?
And furthermore, I'm going to tell you how it was all done. Follow me. In order to help you understand what happened, I shall need to take you through the events of the evening step by step. At the start of the evening, Yvette was here by herself, waiting to offer you all a glass of champagne. I was in the hall. I know because I was there. Then I hurried across to the kitchen. And the cook was in here, alive, sharpening knives, preparing for dinner. And then... the doorbell rang. And it was you. Yes? I asked you for your coat, and I recognized you as Colonel Mustard, and I prevented you from telling me your real name because I didn't want any of you to use any name other than your pseudonym, and I introduced myself to you as the butler, and I ran across the hall to the library. And then Yvette met you, and smiled, and poured you a drink. And the doorbell rang, and it was Mrs. White looking pale and tragic, and I took her coat and hung it up. And I introduced Mrs. White to Colonel Mustard. Hello, hello. And I noticed that Mrs. White and Yvette flinched. Then there was a rumble of thunder and a crash of lightning. And to make a long story short...
Too late!
One by one, you all arrived. And then the gong was struck by the cook. And we went into the dining room. And Mrs. Peacock sat here. And Professor Plum sat here. And Mrs. White sat here. And Mr. Green, Miss Scarlet, Colonel Mustard. This chair was vacant. Anyway, we all revealed we'd all received a letter, and you'd had a letter, and you'd had a letter, and you'd had a letter.
Get out of here!
The point is, blackmail.
All this came out after dinner in the study.
You're right. Mr. Green stood here, and Mr. Peacock here, and Miss Scarlet here, and Professor Plum here, and Colonel Mustard, and Mrs. White. I'm getting there, I'm getting there. And Mr. Body went to get his surprise packages from the hall. And you all opened your presents. Mr. Body switched out the lights.
Grand.
Mr. Body lay on the floor, apparently dead.
He was dead. I examined him.
Then why was he bashed on the head a few minutes later with a candlestick if he was dead already?
All right, I made a mistake.
Right. But if so, why was Mr. Body pretending to be dead? It could only be because he realized that his scheme had misfired and the gunshot was intended to kill him, not me. Look, the bullet grazed his ear. Clearly his best hope of escaping death was to pretend to be dead already.
So whoever grabbed the gun from me in the dark was trying to kill him.
But remember what happened next. Mrs. Peacock took a drink. You said, maybe it's poisoned. She screams. We took it in the sunlight. Mr. Green. Well, I had to stop her screaming. Then more screaming. Yvette, the billiard room. We all rushed out. But one of us wasn't here. No.
No?
No. Maybe one of us was murdering the cook. Who wasn't here with us?
Do you know?
I do. While we stood here, trying to stop Yvette from panicking, one of us could have stayed in the study, picked up the dagger, run down the hall, and stabbed the cook.
Oh, how could he risk it? We might have seen him running back.
Not if they used this secret passage. And the murderer ran back down the secret passage to the study.
That's where it comes out?
Yes, look!
What? How did you know?
This house belongs to a friend of mine I've known all along.
So you could be the murderer.
Don't be ridiculous. If I was the murderer, why would I reveal to you how I did it?
Well, who else knew about the secret passage?
We found it, Colonel Mustard and me.
You found it. You could have known about it all the time.
But I didn't.
Well, why should we believe you?
Because she was with us all in the billiard room doorway while Yvette was screaming, don't you remember?
But what I don't understand is why was the cook murdered? She had nothing to do with Mr. Body.
Of course she did. I gathered you all here together because you were all implicated in Mr. Body's dastardly blackmail. Did none of you deduce that the others were involved too?
What others?
The cook and Yvette?
No.
That's how he got all his information. Before he could blackmail anyone, Mr. Body had to discover their guilty secret. The cook and Yvette were his accomplices.
I see. So, whoever knew that the cook was involved killed her?
Yes. I know, because I was Mr. Body's butler, that the cook had worked for one of you.
Who?
You recognized Yvette, didn't you? Don't deny it.
What do you mean, don't deny it? I'm not denying anything.
Another denial.
All right, it's true. I knew Yvette. My husband had an affair with her, but I didn't care. I wasn't jealous.
You knew Yvette too, didn't you?
Yes, she worked for me.
And you also knew her, sir. We've already established that you were one of Miss Scarlett's clients. That's why you were so desperate to get your hands on those negatives. Photographs of you and Yvette in flagrante delicto, remember?
Mr. Body threatened to send those pictures to my dear old mother. The shock would have killed her.
Oh, that would have been quite an achievement since you told us that she's dead already. So, he had the motive.
You all had a motive.
But where and when was Mr. Body killed?
Don't you see? Look, we came back from the study with Yvette. Mr. Body was on the floor, pretending to be dead. But one of us knows he's alive. So, I explained that I was Mr. Body's butler and I'd invited you here, and we realized there was only one other person in the house.
Well, where is he?
By now, she was dead. We laid her down with our backs to the freezer. One of us slipped through the same secret passage.
Again?
Of course, back to the study. The murderer was in the secret passage. Meanwhile, Mr. Body been on the floor. He jumped up. The murderer came out of the secret panel, picked up the candlestick. Mr. Body followed us out of the study into the hall looking for an escape. The murderer crept up behind him and killed him.
Will you stop that?
No. Then he threw him into the toilet and nonchalantly rejoined us beside the cook's body in the kitchen. It took less than half a minute.
So who wasn't there the entire time in the kitchen?
Whoever it was is the murderer. And we put the weapons in the cupboard, locked it, and ran to the front door. To throw away the key. A motorist. I didn't throw the key away. I put it in my pocket. And someone could have taken it out of my pocket and substituted another.
We were all in a huddle. Any one of us could have done that.
Precisely.
Wait a minute. Colonel Mustard has a top-secret Pentagon job. Mrs. White's husband was a nuclear physicist, and Yvette is a link between them.
What is your top secret job, Colonel?
I can tell you. He's working on the secret of the next fusion bomb.
How did you know that?
Can you keep a secret?
Yes.
So can I.
Was this a plot between them, Wadsworth, or did Colonel Mustard do it alone?
We shall see. Let's look at the other murders.
Yes. Bad luck that that motorist arrived at that moment.
It wasn't luck. I invited him.
You did?
Of course, it's obvious. Everyone here tonight was either Mr. Body's victim or accomplice. Everyone who has died gave him vital information about one of you. I got them here so they give evidence against him and force him to confess.
Oh, yeah? What about that motorist? What kind of information did he have?
He was my driver during the war.
And what was he holding over you?
He knew that I was a war profiteer. I stole essential Air Force radio parts, and I sold them on the black market. That is how I made all my money. But that does not make me a murderer.
Well, a lot of our airmen died because their radios didn't work. Was the policeman working for Mr. Body, too?
The cop was from Washington. He was on my payroll. I bribed him once a week so I could carry on with business. Mr. Body found out somehow.
Oh, my God.
Oh, please.
And the singing telegram girl?
She was my patient once. I had an affair with her. That's how I lost my license. Mr. Body found that out, too.
Well, let's put her in the study with the others. So, now you all know why they died. Whoever killed Mr. Body also wanted his accomplices dead.
How did the murderer know about them all? I mean, I admit that I had guessed that this young singer informed on me to Mr. Body. But I didn't know anything about any of you until this evening.
First, the murderer needed to get the weapons. Easy. He stole the key from my pocket. And then we all followed Colonel Mustard's suggestion that we split up and search the house.
That's right. It was Colonel Mustard's suggestion.
And one of us got away from his or her partner and hurried to the study. On the desk was the envelope from Mr. Body. It contained photographs and letters. The evidence of Mr. Body's network of informants.
Where is the envelope now?
Gone. Destroyed. Perhaps in the fire. the only possible place. Aha! Then, having found out the whole story, the murderer went to the cupboard, unlocked it with the key, took out the wrench.
Then we fell on the secret passage from the conservatory to the lounge, where we found the motorist dead.
That's right. And we couldn't get in. So we went back to the open cupboard, got the gun, and shot the door open. Bang! And then the doorbell rang.
Oh, whoever it is, they gotta go away or they'll be killed. Oh.
Good evening. Have you ever given any thought to the kingdom of heaven?
What?
Repent. The kingdom of heaven is at hand.
You ain't just whistling Dixie.
Armageddon is almost upon us.
I got news for you. It's already here.
Go away.
But your souls are in danger.
Our lives are in danger, you beatnik.
The cop arrived next. We locked him in the library. We forgot the cupboard with the weapons was now unlocked. Then we split up again. And the murderer switched off the electricity.